Governor Phil Scott has appointed a new leader for the Vermont Education Agency, choosing from a list of names provided by the State Board of Education. Zoe Saunders is moving from Florida. She has a sister and an aunt in Vermont and has been visiting for years. She starts April 15th. Saunders most recently worked in innovation for Broward County Public Schools, serving more than 200,000 students with a special focus on workforce training programs, including in the aviation field. She also addressed COVID-19 learning loss and efforts to improve outcomes for kids from historically underserved communities. Before that, Saunders was a strategist for Charter Schools USA, also based in Florida. We started our conversation with the incoming education secretary by asking what public education means to her.
Public education is about ensuring that every child is able to reach their fullest potential. I really believe strongly in the power of education to uplift children and to also promote economic prosperity.
Are you yourself the product of public schools for grade school, middle school, high school?
I did not attend public school. I attended private school and had a wonderful experience. And my children attend public school and they've had a phenomenal experience. And my entire career has been devoted to advancing public educational opportunities for all students.
What do you anticipate will be your top priorities in your new position?
I understand that this is a challenging time for the education system in the state of Vermont. And it's, a lot of districts and states across the country are facing very similar challenges in terms of affordability of the educational system, facing declining enrollment and aging facilities, mental health concerns. Your schools are really asked to do a lot more than educating students. It's really providing that wraparound support to make sure that every child has those opportunities to thrive academically and to succeed not only in school but in life. And so I see there being great opportunities within the state of Vermont with your focus on community involvement and engagement to building upon that to strengthen opportunities for students.
One aspect of that challenging climate right now, of course, education spending. It's really under the microscope.
The state of Vermont is one of the top spenders in education, and I certainly value that the state has a really strong tradition of investing in public education and prioritizing the needs of children. So I think that's a very good place to start. There are a lot of opportunities to look at how we can strengthen the system to promote sustainability in the future of education. And I think we also in those conversations need to make sure we're focusing on the outcomes as well and ensuring that there's equitable distribution of resources to promote equitable student outcomes across the state.
What do you see the role being for technical education in Vermont?
I believe in exposing children to a lot of different opportunities in terms of careers and starting that very early so that they can identify things that are interesting to them and continue to nurture their talents so that they can pursue those careers that are gainful employment and meaningful to them. I've had a lot of experience in developing workforce training programs and think it's really important that we offer those different pathways. I have experience, as you mentioned, in developing training programs in aviation. I also have experience in developing training programs around public works and ensuring that we have the workforce to deal with the infrastructure needs of our communities. So I think all of these things are really important to take into account when we think about education. Some students will matriculate into college and certainly support those opportunities as well. But some students may, after high school, be interested in going straight into a career. And we want to give those students choices and opportunities to explore a variety of different pathways and get those experiences while they're in school that they can take with them after graduation and be successful in their careers.
Well, one thing Governor Scott has spoken about quite frequently is the attitude around technical education. It used to be when I was in high school that everyone should go to college. That was what people seemed to think, and that technical education was seen as perhaps a lesser option. Not so now. We're working on changing that conversation.
We need to make sure we're preparing kids for college and career. I think oftentimes the focus and emphasis has been more exclusively on college, but the career exploration is as important. And there are really important jobs that students can enter right after high school that are good paying jobs. And we want to make sure that we're giving students those opportunities to pursue careers that are meaningful and certainly give back to our society in very big and big ways.
You're coming to us from Florida, a state that has made headlines, of course, around the nation for putting certain limits, prohibitions on what can be taught and discussed in classrooms, including topics like gender identity, homosexuality, pronoun use. And I wonder, even though this governor and this legislature will likely never do such a thing here in Vermont, I wonder what that did to shape your view of public policy as it relates to education.
So first of all, my focus is making sure that policies are supportive of all children, and particularly for those students that identify within the LGBTQI plus community, that they feel loved, valued, and supported. I think that's of critical importance, and I've had those conversations with the governor to share how important that is to me personally as I move forward in doing this work in Vermont. I think these types of conversations do allow us to reflect on the importance of setting policy at the state level and the impact that it does have on schools, on teachers, on classrooms, on individual students, and on families. And so that's something that I take to heart. I am, on a personal note, I'm a mom of 2 school-age children. And so I really feel that weight of responsibility and want to make sure that when we set education policy, we do it right, because it's imperative that we get it right for every child, and that they feel fully supported and nurtured and celebrated for the talents and the uniqueness that they bring.
This is an exciting time for you and your family. So, what are you most looking forward to?
We really do enjoy the outdoors and hiking and skiing. I'm really excited for my kids to be able to experience the seasons throughout the year, and that's just going to bring a lot of joy, to our family and help us to build new traditions here in Vermont. So we're really excited about this, and I will very much work hard for all Vermonters, and I'm excited to be here and to serve.
Don Tinney, the president of the Vermont NEA, the labor union representing educators, said he hopes the new secretary is as communicative as her predecessors, writing in a statement, "While her years working on behalf of charter schools gives us pause, I look forward to meeting with incoming Secretary of Education Zoe Saunders next week and to working together to promote, protect, and strengthen public education in Vermont."